Fun, the theory video. So what powers do I think Nyx will have? I feel like Nyx will have a combination of Rhysand's powers of the Daemati, of the misting people. But on his mother's side, I feel like he would inherit the abilities that FEYRE would have inherited if she had been turned via the cauldron, not by the High Lords. So FEYRE turns in a way that's pretty unique. Unlike her sisters, the sisters get thrown in the cauldron. They get skill sets that are very tailored to them. FEYRE gets a skill set that's basically just all the High Lords all together. But I feel like there are certain things that if FEYRE had been shoved into the cauldron, I don't think she would have this amalgamation of all the High Lord powers. Like, she's not Evie. But I do think that there are things in her skill set that she would have regardless. One of those things is the Daemati powers. I don't think that the Daemati powers are something that she just inherited from Rhysand. I do feel like FEYRE would have developed those powers had she been turned via the cauldron on her own. I also feel like if FEYRE is going to get something that kind of relates to Nesta and Elaine's theming of life and death, I feel like FEYRE would be somewhere in between. This is kind of like a spitball thing, so I haven't thought this through super clearly. But if Elaine can see the future and Nesta can command the dead and command the dread trove, Elaine is very life-based and Nesta is very death-based. I feel like FEYRE is going to be, she would have been like an in-between person. Like maybe she could communicate with the dead or something like that. There's a lot of like talking to people in the afterlife going on in Crescent City. I feel like that would be something that FEYRE could have. Like she could access whatever magical in-between land that Bryce was able to talk to Danica in Crescent City 1. Like she could access the place that you make the drop, maybe. And then that could be pretty cool for FEYRE to have. So if we combine both Rhysand's misting people and Daemati powers with FEYRE's Daemati powers, and maybe the ability to like speak to the dead or be a medium in some way. So the way that I think that affects Nyx is that if FEYRE was full Illyrian the night that she and Rhysand conceived Nyx, because FEYRE was flying, she had the wings on, that means Nyx isn't getting a lot of FEYRE's high Fae power set. And FEYRE's high Fae power set would include the High Lords thing, because the High Lords thing is part of her abilities. But I just think that those wouldn't be abilities that she would have had she been shoved into the cauldron like her sisters and not turned via the High Lords. So this leaves Nyx with guaranteed Daemati powers, since FEYRE and Rhysand both have that. But I think he wouldn't be able to mist people, and he wouldn't be able to have all of the High Lords' powers. I think he would just be a dedicated mind reader who has generalized Illyrian magic that can be used to do more non-combat related things. Like Cassian and Azrael, their Illyrian powers are very combat-based, very destructive. I think Nyx will be able to take those powers and do other things with them. That's just where I am with it. This is really kind of a spitball, but this was really fun to talk about.